As a patriotic young man, Saeed joined the Iranian Ministry of Defense. Later in university, he was expelled when he started to question some of the Islamic teachings that he had been raised with.
You know that there are so many things in Quran that you really can't understand. And it is not about the accent you use or the way that you read it, but half-finished stories that again questions the conditions of it being a book of God, and in some places even contradicted the attributes of God and the Word of God. In Quran, you can come across verses that have no meaning and have been interpreted many times by different people. And the question for me was that if this is one of the divine secrets, why did God put it in His book when it doesn't mean anything to us? And how does God communicate with us through these verses?
Years later, Saeed was arrested by Iranian officials for reporting clear violations he had seen while working at the Ministry of Defense. As a devout Muslim, his imprisonment and torture in the name of Allah led him to further question his religion.
All those who want to follow this route are imprisoned and persecuted. My arrest, torture, interrogation were in the name of Allah or the God of Muslims. I remember that on the interrogation forms it was written, quoting from the Prophet Muhammad, "Salvation is in honesty." This confused me. I wrote everything correctly for the first time and said, "This is the truth." But then I saw they did not like what I wrote, and also the fact that the interrogators did not want to hear the truth, but only wanted to see what they wanted to be written.
So, Saeed, one day your wife Miriam, she's working as a nurse at the hospital, receives a Bible. She brings it home. What was your reaction? Because having a Bible in Iran can be a little bit dangerous. So I'm sure you were a little concerned.
Mariam was a night shift nurse at the hospital. And me being a Muslim man, I was following her according to my teaching as a Muslim. She was not happy with my behavior. I was a harsh and nervous person. According to Quran, I even beat her many times. This made her so sad about her life. And one night she was crying in a hospital. A missionary from church which was in her clinic saw her crying and asked what was wrong with her. And she said, "I am tired of my life and everything." And then she gave her a Bible. And when my wife brought the Bible home, she was very frightened and scared that she had brought a Bible home from the clinic.
So the Bible's in the home. Now you're investigating a number of different religions. You decide to read the Bible, and you go all the way from Genesis to Revelation. What were you thinking as you were reading through the Bible? Did you feel that something was starting to change in you?
So at that time, I was looking for a God and a connection where I could feel His immediate presence in my life. And I was looking for God in different beliefs and religions from what I had access to. One night, Miriam, my wife, was at work. I decided to pick this Bible and decided to read through it. And during these days, there was a hurricane that moved our satellite antennas, which caused me to ask the technician to come over and fix it. And when he fixed it, there were some new channels that ended up being Farsi-speaking Christian channels. And after that, I started watching these TV channels, and I started learning more information about Christianity and getting more knowledge about this belief.
So you're watching the Christian television, you're reading the Bible, and then in February 2008, you made a decision to follow Jesus. How did that change your life?
So, as I said, I was tortured, and because of that, I had nightmares every night. And it was so hard. My son had to hold my hand every night to fall asleep. And it was this night that the pastor on the television was saying that if you want to sleep in the hand of God and receive peace, come pray with me and accept Jesus as your God and Lord. That was the beginning of the way. And I picked up the phone immediately and called the number on the screen. And the sister who picked up the phone asked if I was calling from Iran. And I said yes. And she said, "This is going to be dangerous for you." And I said, "If the God you are talking about is true, He is going to protect me." So I prayed with the pastor. From that night on, peace came to my life, and I was able to sleep in peace and comfortably throughout the night. And I was not nervous and didn't need my son to hold my hand anymore. It was at that moment that I decided to follow Jesus and follow His leading. It was from that time that I was able to see His presence in my life, and a lot of good things started happening in my life.
Now, as you're reading through the Bible, you know that many followers of Jesus suffer persecution, and you went through some of that. Tell me about some of the challenges and the troubles you went through accepting Jesus.
Many problems arose from this. The first thing, I was being rejected by family members and people around me, and then being fired from the job that I had because they were suspicious and skeptical that I had become a Christian and I was not following Islamic rules in my workplace. And then persecution happened, and I endured these persecutions until there was no serious action against us. And one day, my wife and son were arrested, and I was threatened over the phone too, that if I did not return to Islam, it would cost us our lives. And I told them and asked them, give me a week. After that, I bought tickets to different places in the world, and one day I just decided to move to Turkey.
After fleeing to Turkey in 2009, Saeed started an online ministry to Farsi-speaking people. In 2014, he came to Canada with his family as a refugee and continued his online church ministry. Now the pastor of 3 congregations, including Emmanuel Baptist in Toronto. Saeed has seen more than 1,300 Farsi-speaking people come to Christ, many getting baptized.
You have underground churches in both Iran and Afghanistan. Of course, COVID has made it difficult for people to come together, but the online ministry has been very helpful to keep them growing in the relationship with Jesus and keeping them connected.
In Iran, we had about 40 underground churches that I was serving for Iranian and Afghan people. And when COVID hit, these churches had to move to online services. So now I have been able to serve Iranian and Afghan people in online services as well as home churches.
Do you hope to go back to Iran someday? Because I know you have family and friends there, and there is definitely a sacrifice for somebody coming from your background in Iran, leaving Islam to become a follower of Jesus. But it must be hard at times on your heart with your family back in Iran. Would you like to go back and see them someday?
It is my dream to go back to my home country, Iran, and serve Iranians there as well as here, and be able to preach to them where they are. It is unfortunate that I cannot be with my family and friends and relatives there. I will try my best and hope for the best that one day this will happen eventually.
ولی متاسفانه فعلا امکان نداره، ولی ما براش دعا میکنیم.